Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude at BeyondMystic, and welcome to this deep woo-woo episode entitled The Quantum Woo with MARYAM HENEIN and Ryan Riff Park. Let me first introduce our co-host for tonight. She is, of course, MARYAM HENEIN. You can find her here on YouTube and also at honeycolony.com. Let's give her a big warm welcome back to the show. MARYAM, welcome back.
Hello, hello. Happy to be with you.
Happy to have you, and I'm excited to bring on this new guest to our show, first-time guest to the show. You can find his work at kungflow.com, also on Gab here at Ryan Riff Parks, on his BitChute, also at Ryan Riff Parks, and finally on his YouTube channel here as well at kungflow. Let's give him a big warm welcome to the show. Ryan, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to be here. You guys do such important work. Thank you.
Well, thank you for accepting the invitation, and thank you again, MARYAM, for also setting this up. Great interview tonight. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of fun. I looked at all of the information and the questions that we have for you, and of course, we are going to be doing this live interactive show, so we will be taking questions for the audience as well, maybe later on in the show. So first, for the audience members, thank you so much for bearing with us here. If you've been watching YouTube today, everybody else is having these weird technical issues with outages across the board, including my show earlier with Andy Sheckman. So it just is what it is. Right now, it seems to be stable. So we're going to press forward and do our very best for you guys. So thank you, everyone, for joining us now. So let me ask Ryan the first guest question here on the Beyond Mystic show. And it goes like this. Ryan, how did universe conspire to bring you to doing the work you're doing today?
Wow. Yeah, conspire is a good word. I didn't have a choice. I got thrown on it, tried to jump off, and they kept throwing me back on. So it really kicked off about 2004. I was helping a neighbor jumpstart his car, noticed he had a Chevy 327 emblem, and I went, oh, funny coincidence. My high school football jersey was number 3, and I had a mad obsession with the number 3. And then my college football jersey was 27 because I'm born on August 27. And then out of nowhere, this weird little voice goes, pay attention to the number 27 on your trip to Amsterdam. And I never hear voices. I wish I did. They always have such good things to say. And I blew it off because I was kind of still a jock back then. But then when I turned to leave, his daughter walks up wearing a jersey with the number 27 on it. And I went, weird. And then I went to Amsterdam and stumbled into this guy's cafe, and he looks at me and he goes, your aura is red and gold and your number is 27. And I went, bah! And then he did that like that. There's a whole story on the BitChute channel about that because the dude was literally an X-Man. He pulled all kinds of things out of me that he couldn't possibly have known. And then when I came back, the number 27 just started following me everywhere. It was haunting. It scared other people. Once I told them about it, they thought it was funny, but then they would go order food and come back with number 27 placeholder. And so I started tracking it down, found it everywhere in the Matrix, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Hunger Games, Assassin's Creed. And the really wild thing to me is that I have been yelling about solar flares for 10 years, which is something we should absolutely talk to today. But then after 15 years of this and 10 years of yelling about the solar flares, I find out that the sun's rotational period, if you measure it at the sunspots, is 27.27 days. That was weird. And then I found out that the number 327 is Nikola Tesla's favorite number. And that story goes endless. So I apparently was born here on some sort of mission, and we'll get into that with a little more setup. But long story short, Jedi are real.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
And connects to an actual order of ancient Egyptian Jedi as well, as does the number 1111.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, folks, you're in for a deep episode tonight. Okay. And, of course, we have a little bit of lag time here because of we have. So I want to ask the audience here to please bear with us. We're not trying to speak over each other. It's happening that way right now because of the lag time that we have. Now, let me ask you, Ryan, before we go too far, a lot of my audience will probably kick back and say, wait a second here. When you were 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, what was different about you at that time? Were you looking up at the stars? Were you thinking, what the hell is this planet? Who am I? Who dropped me here? Did you have those questions? And if so, can you share that with the audience a little bit?
Always felt different, and that's kind of a product of being an A negative blood type. We're very different, and we'll show you a clip here in a second that'll prove that out. But it's funny because I thought I was just a regular farm kid growing up on a farm, and it wasn't until I was about 31 that the woo-woo mystical stuff started kicking on.
Okay. Okay. All right.
You're from the future, Ryan.
Now, you just picked it. Okay, go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead.
Well, for me, though, when entities say that they're from the future, I think they might actually be referring to, we're from a species that is 20,000 years ahead of yours, and we have better technology, and we live together in harmony, and we enjoy our lives, and that's the future we're trying to get you Earthlings to. That's kind of how that occurs for me. I used to not believe in time travel and all that, and now I just don't know. So I don't believe or disbelieve in the things that I don't understand. So I don't know if I'm from the future. I'm definitely from the past.
Okay. We could do a whole show on this thing, man. I love where this is going. But first, let me ask you about the bloodlines. So you just mentioned a negative bloodline. We know that there's a huge concentration of a negative in the Basque region in Europe. Now, why are you bringing that into the conversation here today? Because my audience has been seeking for this information. We ask a lot of people in the woo, what's up with those bloodlines? What does it really mean? And with you specifically, what does the A negative stand for?
I also want to just chime in. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Mariam.
I'm O negative, so I don't. Is it just the negatives? Is it the negatives?
So at some point, I'm gonna have to step out and plug in the backup phone here. But this is something that's blowing my mind because I was born into a family of ancient Scottish Rite Mason ruling class. We'll just let that one end there. But I can do some things that most people can't. And a friend who's also born into that lineage called me up and said, "Hey, what's your blood type?" And I was like, "I don't know." And she's like, "You're 48 and you don't know your own blood type?" And she was like, "You're going to be one of the RH negatives because of your lineage and your enhanced abilities." And so I went and looked it up, and the A negatives have hazel eyes, light brown hair, and really jacked up, ugly ribs, which I do have. And so I bought a test, and turned out to be an A negative, which is a good call on her part because only 6% of the people in the world share this blood type, and it's always kings and queens and emperors. If you're wanting to learn about bloodlines, there's a guy named Azesm, Azesm on Facebook. He is the freaking expert. I have learned so much from him. He knows everything and he'll break it down for you, I think, better than anybody else I've ever seen. That's where I'm getting my information on this from. He says it's the Holy Grail bloodline, and I can believe that because, you know, blood is interesting to certain people, and the more enhanced the blood is, the more interesting it is.
So we have a lot of RH negative blood types in the live stream here now tonight, but usually speaking in my whole audience, this keeps coming up. Let me go back and ask you here. You said that this A negative specific blood type, of course, we're around 6% here around the planet, and you mentioned that this was one of those royal ruling bloodlines. Now, that brings up a negative connotation for a lot of people. They're saying, well, these people have enslaved the rest of the population. Do we actually like A negative blood types? But let's talk about what's also happening now, where we're seeing a lot of these starseeds jumping in to A negative blood types because of these enhanced abilities so that they can fight the fight that we're in now. Let's get into that.
Absolutely. So here's where the whole thing goes left. Well, right, actually. So one of the things, folks, I'm going to give you a bunch of crazy sounding information, and most of it's going to sound too good to be true. But for once in this overwrought Hunger Games, the weirds are ever in your favor. So on this crazy path of coincidences and synchronicities, they all involved angels and ancient Egyptian Jedi. Both both of which are very real. There is absolutely a mission of light workers mass incarnated on this planet because we knew now was going to be crucial for the fate of humanity. And so what I personally believe at this point is that a bunch of actual angels and Egyptian Jedi infiltrated the other team by being born into the lineage so that we would know what's going on, be able to help. But also, if you have an RH negative blood type, you're just enhanced. Like, it's weird. I don't want to like self-glorify it all, but my whole life I've just been doing things that are not supposed to be possible and scoring in the 98th percentile on national placement tests without studying. 5'11" white guy who can dunk on 10 feet, you know. The RH negative line is extremely enhanced. It seems to go back to the Anunnaki. I have a huge question about why this blood type doesn't show up in any primate species, and there are 622 of them. So I'm going to stop there. But if you extrapolate that it doesn't show up in primates, you can go from there.
Right. Is it the same with the O negative? Is it, because I heard from that my blood type is also rare.
Very. 6% of the planet has A negative, 6% has O negative, and then there's AB negative and I believe B negative. So yeah, it's amusing to me because I've been collecting the strongest people I can meet for like 15 years because I knew this was coming. And I've also been collecting the bravest people on the face battle, and highly anomalous. What should be 15% of my friends having this blood type, it's like 70%. It's just over and over again. And the people who I meet in real life, over and over again, I bond with them, and then I find out that they're an A negative too. You know, and it's just like, there's only supposed to be 6% of us in the world. Why is everybody I meet A neg right now? Also, the eyes, the RH negative will so often have the cool sunburst eyes with the multicolors, and that's just a whole fascinating topic that I'm not really educated enough to speak on.
Also, what I heard about the negatives, but specifically the A negatives, their eyesight is also enhanced. So where most people, when they're lucky, they see 20/20. Some of those A negative types apparently see up to 30, what people see normally at 20 feet. So that's also another interesting point of view here. Let me bring up this chart. As you were talking here, people were asking in the chat. So here's the percentage of RH negative. So 7% in the O negative, 6% only in the A negative blood type around the world. The B is 1.5. And
bring it down a little on the top. Yeah. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very interesting. Now, let's dive in more a little bit into the starseeds. And again, what you're saying is, how is it possible that only 6% on the planet are A negative, yet this is mostly the people you're meeting and that we're meeting in this show here tonight? How are we all connected on this mission? I spoke about the starseeds incarnating and infiltrating this bloodline here to maybe tip the scales or to level the playing field in this temporal war that we find ourselves in. What can you say to that? How can you speak to that for the audience?
I'm plugging my backup phone in here. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
No problem.
So at this point in the game, I've known for like probably 8 years that there is actually a mass incarnation of actual angels and Egyptian Jedi on this planet. Am I frozen? How am I doing there?
Yeah, you seem to be frozen.
You're frozen.
Hold on.
I wonder if
imagine that. Go figure. This happens a lot.
So hold on here,
okay.
Mike.
So the message is what matters anyway, but I do like to talk with my hands. Why are we... Hold on, I'm going to pop my cam here real quick.
Maybe I'm an Egyptian Jedi, Jean-Claude.
Well, yeah, we can have
you absolutely are.
MARYAM and I are very interested in not just Egypt, but Greece also. But anyways, there's a lineage there and a connection, absolutely. And we can get into that, but how MARYAM and I met and our interests as well. Okay, Mike, can we hear you okay now? Let's, Ryan, can we check that out? How's your mic now?
I'm trying to get my camera back on because there's something. In order for me to explain Egyptian Jedi, I need to show you something. But my camera has frozen.
Okay, so hold on, guys. Hold on a second. So I'm going to bring down Mike here for just a second as he sorts himself out. And what I'm going to do is ask Maryam to maybe set the stage as to how she encountered Ryan and why she thought it would be absolutely amazing to have this conversation with the audience tonight. So Maryam, take the wheel here for a second while Ryan tries to figure out.
I don't know how many years ago I met Ryan. I think also I was at a party, and I think he was spinning fire, and I thought, wow, that's a sexy guy, and still think he's a sexy guy, a sexy man. I didn't know we were the same age. In any case, lost touch. I haven't seen him in a long time, and I just intuitively, given a little bit of his story and thinking of this program, Quantum Woo. It's not deep woo woo. It's Quantum Woo on the top banner. Jean-Claude. It's the wrong banner. But anyway, it's Quantum Woo. And so I thought it would be great. I really wanted to delve into the MK Ultra in a safe, YouTube-friendly way. I still want to. I want to know his story, and then learned of his mastery with helping with addiction with the Kung Flu. And I had wanted to go in the desert, and I still would like to see Ryan face to face, maybe one day soon.
Okay,
yeah,
very good.
That's here every day right now. Not probably better that I come over there.
To San
Francisco. Are we back?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
So everything that you just said actually ties into Egyptian Jedi and angels. And so just real quick, folks, I have been on the craziest life path. I honestly, I'm pretty sure my life is the weirdest thing you're ever going to hear. And that whole story is up on BitChute and Odyssey. But what Maryam is referring to is something called Kung Flow. And that is a training program that uses this special kind of contact light sword. Contact is where you roll it around your body without using your hands. And so the reason why Kung Flow is super important is because you get a good workout. It's something you can do in your apartment. You get to play with a light sword. But what it's actually designed to do is show you how to upgrade the operating system of your brain. Yes, your brain has an operating system. It has to, otherwise it wouldn't operate. And so you can actually learn how to take charge of the programming of your mind. But where it gets really cool is that you can actually learn how to engage the power of your subconscious mind as a secondary drive. Now, that's a big deal because your subconscious mind is actually about 1,000,000 times more powerful than a supercomputer. Every single person on the planet, every average person is already rocking hardware that is literally 1,000,000 times more powerful than a supercomputer. All that horsepower is hidden in the subconscious, and we don't really use it because we don't know how to activate it. And activating it is simply as easy as speaking out loud. Mantra and affirmation work because when you speak out loud, I'm frozen again, right at the important part. When you speak out loud, your voice actually engages your subconscious mind as a secondary drive. Your voice comes out of your mouth in your exact operating language at your exact frequency, goes in through your ear, closes a circuit that actually activates your subconscious mind. So now you're actually working with the conscious mind, guiding and directing, but you have the second gear of the subconscious mind at play, and your physical skills just go off the charts at that point because you're working with 100% of your brain rather than the 0.005% we actually use now.
Absolutely fascinating. And I could say from personal experience also, in my practice of Kung Fu, our Sifu always taught us that we needed to use the syntax of success. So that speaks to what you're saying out now. Speaking out loud that you can achieve something is 90% of the job, often the time here, and especially in these really high stressful training situations. For example, we are trained to break arrows in the soft part of our neck. We just lost Ryan here. Hopefully he comes back up. I showed these videos before where we're basically pushing metal tip arrows through our neck and breaking the arrows with the strength of our will and our chi, our extended chi. And so this is similar to what Ryan is talking about now. I think I've got him back on. Ryan, did you hear that?
There you go.
Yeah, I keep freezing, and there's stuff that I need to display. So thanks for bearing with this, folks. Yeah, Kung Fu is. I started dating an MK Ultra woman who had a lot of Kung Fu background, and she got me really into the lifestyle, and that's one of the things that opened my mind. Because when you start studying Kung Fu, it opens up, it's not just a martial art. It's actually, as far as the street fight goes, it's not really your best bet. But as far as waking you up and tapping you into your warrior lineage, it's about as good as it gets. And then what's the point that I wanted to make about Kung Flow is that what I do is I show you moves like this one here, and you might think, oh, I could never do that. But then when you say this is easy, in your subconscious mind that's doing 120 trillion operations every second goes, oh, you want this to be easy. And it goes, okay, this is easy, this is easy, this is, whoa, that just worked. I couldn't do the move. And then I spoke out loud, and all of a sudden I could do the move. And what you have there is the pop that MARYAM was referring to, and that's the proof of progress. Because you can see your body's ability to enhance based upon what you say to yourself out loud, you believe that speaking to yourself does work. And that's when you can go in and start overriding bad programs, malware, but start installing new programs. And what's really cool is that once you realize the power of speaking to yourself out loud, you can use these techniques to end addictions and heal PTSD super fast. One of the biggest keys I would ever want to share with anyone is that if you're feeling the pain of a PTSD or a really gnarly craving, just ask yourself, who's generating the pain? Who's generating the craving?
Right.
It's you. You're the one creating the signal, and that's all it is a signal. So you can actually shut it off just by saying, I am dispelling this pain. And my life has been literally torturous. Like, I've died a couple times. I've had run-ins with Rockefellers galore. And I just kind of navigate through it all just by staying calm and programming myself through it. And my PTSD was so bad, horrible childhood, just broken, beaten, abused, neglected, and all that. And I carried it with me forever. And then when I was shown this system by some really fun guys, if you know what I'm saying, all of a sudden it just went away. And developed the program as a way to get good at fire staff spinning. But then I started teaching a random class at a drug rehab for suicidal teens in Malibu. And the kids started using the system to beat their drug addictions. So the owners of the clinic brought me on full time. It was about 2 years of rolling laboratory where I would guinea pig all these crazy ideas on the kids because I had no oversight, and they just kept working. So that's something I want to, oh, here we go, folks. It's about to get weird. Yeah, friends, let's just go ahead and talk about angels and Jedi and A negatives real quick. Jean-Claude, would you please fast forward that to the last 15 seconds or so?
Okay, this is the last. Okay, a little bit more. Okay, let me backtrack here, right here. Okay.
Right there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, this is what you see is what you get there, folks. That's real. Of course, the footage is glitching. Why wouldn't it be? But one of the things I've been doing that got me on the right wrong list was holding my hand in fire for 7 to 10 seconds without burning. And that's not supposed to be possible. And I'm just now like, I'm kind of no F's given at the moment anymore. I'm not concerned about being trolled by small minds or any of that. It's really like, to my mind, I've been on this mission for 15 years now of what's wrong and how can I help. And so for the people who are awake and aware enough to see those videos of me holding my hand directly in fire for, I think that one's like 13 seconds without burning, those are the people who can wrap their brains around that, that I really want to reach out to, because there are ways of unlocking these enhanced abilities. And the RH negs are definitely going to have a little more traction there. It's just part of that lineage, just being more psychic and enhanced. But other people can do this too. The secret ingredient is love. I can only do that skill if there's a large field of love present. Love is the highest, fastest, most powerful frequency, and it solves all of our problems.
Absolutely. So let me add 2 things to that. We were talking earlier about speaking out loud. This is easy, engaging your subconscious here as the primary device here as you move forward through these techniques. I thought that was absolutely amazing. Again, from my perspective too, we've always had this syntax of success method in Kung Fu, and my Sifu always said, hey, if you can do it, I can do it. So that was also one of the practices where the Sifu would show something, everybody was like, that's just crazy. And it's like, no. If I can do it, you can do it, right? So we would repeat that over and over. We'd do these long meditations, and these would eventually lead us into doing this. So let me bring this up on the screen here. Not this one. Hold on, stop screen and share screen. So again, playing with a fire, so to speak here, we had these fire walks, which again is tempting, not as long as what you're doing there with the 13 or 14 seconds with your hand on fire, but still something that your brain would otherwise tell you, that's absolutely crazy. You can't do that without burning yourself.
So is the idea, Ryan, that you don't have to believe it if you say this is easy? Do you say it until it penetrates the subconscious and replaces the programming?
That is such a good question. So I know for a fact that if you say, I am dispelling this craving, it will work. You just have to say it enough times. Programming is all about iterations. And so like for me, I've got 48 years of bad hardwiring. And so I had to go in and say, I am dispelling this pain. I had to say it a lot. And so the beautiful thing about the sword is that when you see yourself going, this is easy, whoa, that did just work, then you'll put in the necessary time and iterations to override the old programming. Because, you know, it is programming and it takes a while to clear out stuff, but it happens faster if you vocally engage.
And repetition is very important. Yep. You know, that's how you master something. You know, as for writing, just show up, just keep doing it, and practice makes a difference.
Well, and every time you think a thought, you strengthen the neural pathway to that thought. Like, I've never been addicted to a substance. I've actually never even been drunk, but I did find out I was addicted to negative thinking. And so I had to go in and monitor my own thoughts and catch myself when I was thinking the negative thoughts, because all that's doing is building a bigger, better bridge to that thought. And some of those thoughts I just didn't want any part of. And so it's having the ability to go, okay, wow, I'm feeling super depressed right now. I got this. I'm calm. I got this. And so being able to defeat that addiction, and, you know, it's a weird, broken world, and we all have all kinds of intentionally installed malware in us. It's why people wear high heels and saggy pants. You know, neither one of them are healthy for us. And so going in and cleaning out those bad programs and replacing them with new upgraded programs where you believe in yourself. And you should, because your brain is literally 1,000,000 times more powerful than a supercomputer.
Right.
You know, think about that. Our brain is literally scientifically 1,000,000 times more powerful than a supercomputer, but we can't remember phone numbers. That's ridiculous.
Right. Well, you just mentioned something very important about the thoughts that you entertain. And in my interview with Dr. Richard Allen Miller, he was involved in creating the training programs for the first Navy SEALs. And of course, the Jedi tricks came into play here, but also, and he mentioned this in this episode here, Beyond Disclosure, that man is absolutely responsible for the thoughts he entertains. And the moment he realizes that, it's a big game changer. So speak a little bit more about that and maybe give the audience some tricks to maybe reprogram that hamster wheel that keeps turning in our head without us really paying attention sometimes.
Great question. So the key there is secondary awareness. And that's when you're able to monitor your own thoughts in real time. Like, you know, what am I thinking right now? And is it good for me? So one of the things that I will do or have clients do is just, you know, take like a Sharpie and put a little mark on my wrist or something. What's that? Oh, it's to remind me, what am I thinking about? Oh, I'm stressing on my daddy issues. That's unproductive. So I'm going to think a more powerful thought. I'm going to shift away from the thing that I'm grinding on that's not doing me any good. And I'm going to manually shift to a better track.
Okay, very good. Maryam, do you have any supplemental questions? I can bring up your list again here.
So many questions. So we went over the pop. Before I go to, I really want to hear about the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. And so can we do a mini?
A little tour.
So my only direct personal connection with the Rothschilds is that it looks like my former, if you remember my really beautiful blonde girlfriend from the past, Maryam, she's looking like she might turn out to be a Rothschild, much to her surprise. And she's a good guy, saved my life. So I don't have a lot of connection to the Rothschilds, but I have way too much connection to Rockefellers.
Okay, then say, I mean, just your connection to the Matrix and MK Ultra, or just, yeah.
MK Ultra was something that was put in front of me. I got invited to study at Johns Hopkins in the 8th grade. And let's just say I had an ultra bad feeling about it and didn't go. And oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't, because if I had gone through that conditioning, I would be such a hell on earth for so many people right now.
Sorry, do you mean they were trying to recruit?
The thing is something that everybody should really look into and understand. And it's all provable, it's documentable, it's beyond fact. You don't get to have an opinion on if it's real or not. And it is at play in so many different ways right now, none of which are actually helpful.
What are you talking about? It's not questionable if it's real or not.
Well, one of our biggest challenges right now, speaking as a trauma therapist who kind of grew up on the inside and has been studying this for a long time, so many of us are in such deep denial about the actuality of what's going on. And a lot of people have their heads in the sand. And they're like, no, there's no, that's a conspiracy theory. And it's like, bro, aliens were a conspiracy theory. Everybody's on that tip now. So let's stop using that blanket term to label things that we don't know about. And
wait, are you
also,
some
people aren't thinking straight right now, and they're not necessarily even thinking their own thoughts. He said delicately.
Yeah.
That's actually our biggest problem right now, is that some people's minds aren't necessarily their own at the moment. I'm trying to walk the tightrope here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That people are not. I think one of the things about Kung Flow is also there is so many people that are disembodied, and I don't know where they are, but this grounds you and unleashes or dislodges your capability to use other facets of your brain and tap into the subconscious and replace it with, because it really is about just deleting self-limiting programs, waking up to being sovereign. And as far as, you know, the denial, it's just too much to wrap your mind around that. But this is all about being enslaved. Everything that's going on is putting up the temperature when we've always been enslaved. And I don't know if some of us, whether it's negative blood type, but if we have a rebel gene, or if we've been immune, or we're awake, it's like Westworld, right?
RH negs are basically more immune to mind programs. It's just, I don't know why we don't get hit with things the way that other people are. You know, I can't speak to it any more than that here, but I would love to. Yeah, it just it is a slightly enhanced bloodline that makes people stronger and smarter and more, I hate to say it, but brave. It just, over and over again, the people who have really been holding it down on the front lines, they have an anomalous occurrence of this blood type. And at this point, I'm quite sure, like, you know, that a lot of master souls from the light side knowingly chose to be born into the negative, and it is a very negative bloodline on purpose, because not only do we have like extra strength sometimes, I also think it just comes down to one less dark side super soldier. I was supposed to be a dark side super soldier, but didn't play ball. And now I'm a pretty decent assist to the forces of love because of being born into this system.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Yes.
There's a question in the chat from Feng Shui Susan. Let's start here. She's asking question: how would the Kung Flow practice work for schizophrenia?
Basically what it does is it gives you a chance to take charge of the programming of your own mind. And I think that we're going to have a lot of new information come out about schizophrenia, because some people aren't schizophrenic, they're harassed. And other people are schizophrenic because this world is so incredibly traumatic that it's easy to dissociate and create an alter, so you yourself don't have to deal with the actuality of the world we live in. That's a really, really good question. I've actually never worked clinically with somebody with like full-on schizophrenia, but the thing that I can say that it will absolutely help with is that in order to have a strong mind, you have to have a strong body and a strong spirit. And one of our biggest problems as a culture right now is that we don't have fun exercise programs. Everybody knows they need to get in shape. Everybody knows they need to be working out, but they come home from work, they're dead ass tired. The last thing they want to do is trudge down to the gym, get on the treadmill, and be bored and tortured for another hour doing a repetitive, boring workout. So the spinning is actually a fully comprehensive core workout. And if you really start dancing with the sword, your whole body gets going and you get working. And I don't know if I'm allowed to mention the lymphatic system here, but your lymphatic system actually pumps white blood cells to the parts of your extremities of your body, and that's actually what removes toxins.
Yeah.
And
No
so
mention of the immune system. Sorry.
What's that?
I said there's no mention of the immune system on YouTube.
Okay.
Dangerous topic.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
I guess I will also not talk about sunlight, which is an interesting point in the world. Sometimes the things that aren't said say the most. So let's just move on from there. But boy, do I cover it over on BitChute. I may have gotten a little angry on that one. So one of the things that we can talk about is that this, Kundalini is about to come up in a big way. This is going to get really funny.
Okay, hold on a second. You must be psychic, man. Hold on a second. So I was just about to bring up this slide because as you're talking, I'm like, it all comes down to how much energy you can
Right.
hold and wield. We understand on this
Yes.
show, and the audience understands that we live in this energy extraction matrix. It's by design. So we've been teaching people how to, one, disconnect from that, stop the bleeding, and two, how to start using, cultivating, and increasing that charge within the body. So I did this whole series last year on my first channel, which was deleted. And I think this is what got me in trouble, because this, again, is a topic that is a big no-no for the system, because as soon as you empower people on not only how to disconnect from the matrix, but then start using that own power for themselves, for their own healing, for their own self manifestation, it's game over for these guys. So I thank you for bringing that up. But I wanted to tie that in also to the negative bloodlines. This, again, going from Dr. Richard Allen Miller. We were talking about the red blood cells. And so basically the pathogen that is the positive for the RH rhesus monkey is also akin to a gap in a battery cell. So those who are positive have a gap in their battery cells, as opposed to the negatives, they don't have that gap. Therefore, they can hold a higher charge. Okay,
Wow.
so that adds. So first of all, the people who are negative have a higher charge to begin with. Therefore, they can unlock a lot of other abilities because they can hold and apply more energy to those tasks. Now, when you get into Kundalini, now you're talking about exponentially growing that energy curve. Again, I've had shows on stair-stepping that energy. It goes back to Egypt times on how to bring that energy up 10-fold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold. Again, not a topic for here, but guys, if you're interested in that, go check out my pay-per-view channel. I did quite a few shows on this already, and they're still there. Those at least are on my server, and they can't be deleted. So speak about that a little bit, Ryan, here carefully, about how that Kundalini, the energy, the extraction matrix really ties into the, as Penny Kelly said it, maybe the last gate towards humanity's freedom is understanding those three key points we just mentioned.
It's definitely a gate that leads to the best elevator possible. So let's tie it all together in one neat little ball here. So this sword is called the Waylighter. And when I realized Kung Flow was a super powerful addiction recovery tool, I decided to dedicate my life to it. And I realized that I couldn't build the program around a fire staff for obvious reasons. And so the sword was obviously the next thing, because there's so much borrowed interest from Star Wars and lightsabers to be able to get people to come to class to learn how to unlock their brains. So I spent years trying to develop this sword. I had a bunch of Rockefeller sabotages to where I couldn't. Oh, could you cut back to me, please?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So I've been trying to get you this sword since like 2012 in an electronic version. So imagine my surprise when I thought I invented this special kind of sword about 2007. In about 2013, I found out this exact shape is carved all over ancient Egypt by people called the Jedi, DJEDI. And friends, if we get cut off at any point here, this is how you know it's true. That is something that could happen very easily. And just as a safeguard, everything that I'm about to say from here on out is completely in the name of love and healing. And so if we were to get removed and deprive people of love and healing, that would not go well for the person who pushed that button when the sweeps come. So I thought I invented this sword in 2007. But then in 2013, a friend told me about ancient Egyptian Jedi spelled with a D. So I went researching all the rabbit holes down there. And what I found is that if you go far enough back in suppressed Egyptian history, you'll learn of an order of ancient Egyptian scholar, warrior, mystical knights called the Jedi. And you know they're real because they carved something called a Jed pillar, DJEDPILLAR. They carved that all over ancient Egypt. And it's literally this exact sword. And so, yeah, it's literally the same shape. Can you go to images and call up a cleaner, bigger one?
Yeah, and hold on a second too. Just
in my documentary when I'm touching the wall, that's what I'm touching. Remember?
Oh my God.
Remember that shot?
Yeah, yes, I do remember that.
Okay, so here's where the next level moves.
Hold on a second, Ryan. Just a second here.
Reality.
Just for the algos.
So,
hold on a second here, Ryan. Hold on a second. I know there's overlay, guys. I'm sorry. I just wanted to bring this up for the algos here. Of course, this is just a fictional ancient Egyptian magician appearing, right? There's no reality to anything we're just talking about now. It's all fiction. It says so here on Wikipedia, Joe. So just so you know. Okay,
yep.
Keep going, Ryan, and I'll find that better picture.
This is all a story and a LARP that I made up, you know, just using the archetype of Star Wars Jedi to get people together. This is some stuff I totally just made up. It's all a science fiction. I'm a writer. So this exact shape, that Jed pillar, is carved all over ancient Egypt. And what's interesting is that if you make this top fin out of zinc, copper, zinc, copper, zinc, copper, yeah, that is actually the circuitry schematic for a pile battery. And so if that top part was an LED, that would in fact shine out an electric light, which is pretty good for people 8,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And it gets even wilder because if you can cut back to me real quick, if you notice, the sword also spells out 1111 with those fins. 11 is a Proto-Germanic word, ein left, one left after 10. But if you follow it into the Norse territories, it literally translates straight to angel. And obviously, angels and Jedi are pretty much the same thing: protectors of the people, mystical powers, swords of light. So that was super amusing. But the thing that blew my mind is when I found out the ancient Egyptian Jedi actually studied Kundalini yoga. And so what they would do was raise the DJ in Jedi is actually a root sound that means snake. Don't be afraid of snakes, folks. They literally can't kick your ass. Most of them are friendly. So the DJ in Jedi means snake, and they would take the snake energy, the serpent energy stored at the base of the spine, run it up the spine in a double DNA helix until it got to the crown chakra. And that's when their force power is unlocked and they got their wings, metaphorically. Now, what blew my mind about that is that that's actually the caduceus, the modern symbol for medicine. It's literally a contact sword, which is one of these that I thought I invented independently 10 years before I knew this. This sword's number one purpose, the reason why it exists, is to help people heal PTSD and end addiction. But then it also turns out to be the basis of the modern symbol of medicine, which is an ancient Egyptian Jedi symbol that is a light sword that self-powers electronically with lemon juice. Seriously, if you add an electrolyte like lemon juice to that Jed pillar, you have yourself a functioning flashlight. Incredible. So all of these crazy things that I have had so much trolling because they're super weird sounding, they all connect back to the same thing, which is an order of ancient Egyptian Jedi. And the best part about the Jedi is that they would incarnate onto planets in times of turmoil in order to provide stability and return the land to peace and prosperity. And I know this is true because there is a pattern of names and numbers that are woven all over pop culture, the Bible, geometry, etc., etc. Nikola Tesla, people who we can't mention here. Everybody's using the number 27 and these same symbols. And it is just the craziest thing I've ever heard of. Like, if I did my job right on that 2.5-hour presentation and lined up all the logic to where it makes sense, if it makes sense, it's the craziest thing ever because it proves that there are millions of Jedi and angels incarnated onto the planet. And I personally believe that to be very, very true.
Wow, absolutely fascinating. I'm going to be looking for a clip also of MARYAM in Egypt here. We did a show on this a little while back. I'm not sure that clip is still available to me, but MARYAM, if you have a link that you can share with me, I'll bring that up. Ryan, let's go back to this. Is this the video you were talking about, the angelic Jedi activation codes woven into reality? I'm just trying to point this to the audience, the one you were talking about for BitChute. Which one am I looking for?
On the BitChute channel, what you want to do is go all the way to the beginning and start there, because it covers a bunch of stuff that's really crucial for people to know about our reality. And I share inside perspectives about things like aliens, and stuff like that. And, you know, my grandfather worked at Los Alamos on the Manhattan Project, so I have a little more information than most. There's some pretty critical tools in there for waking up people who are just now waking up. I feel like my role is to be a bridge from the woo-woo people, from the metaphysicians, to the people who are just finding out that consensus reality is different than what they thought. So that would be, you know, start there and then work your way up, because it all builds and flows and all of the different dots connect.
Wow,
Can I ask a question before we go to the pillar in regards, I'm back at the negatives in the blood. Is there, from your opinion, a ploy to dirty the blood supply with the jabs? I know maybe that's not you could say yes.
I don't think we should talk about that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I know way too much about that, and we'll have to do that on a different operating system.
Sure.
But it's a valid question.
It's a great question, and I would love to give you the straight answer. It's going to get you kicked off.
What I propose here, Maryam and Ryan,
I agree with you. I know what you're going to say.
Let's touch base again and maybe do a pay-per-view episode, so I can put this on a private server somewhere for the audience, and we'll get into that, because there's so many connections there with Kundalini as well. And it's not just about sex, and a lot of people disconnect as soon as they hear that word. It's like, oh, that's dirty, it's sex, it's porn, and they're just programmed to not look at it. And so again, your thoughts here, who's telling you that? Who put those thoughts into your mind, and how do you overcome them and actually look at the information? Because once you see it, you can't unsee it, and that is the key to one of your powers. Maryam, let me bring up this. Do you know whereabouts in the scroll here?
It's a little further than that, where I'm feeling off. Oops, I think you passed it. Where?
Okay, so I'm at the 16-minute mark now.
I think where you were was right.
Okay, let me bring it back and set this up for the audience. Oh yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
I am in the tomb, and the director is telling me to touch the wall to connect with the wall and for visuals. So I'm feeling off the wall, and I'm feeling off this this Jedi, which I thought was a battery, but you can show it. We don't have to show the sound.
Oh, that's so funny. You went right to that. So one of the things I love about finally having this sword done, it has been such a fight to get it produced, is that when I go to festivals or parks or whatever, certain people will just come over and be like, what is that? I need it. It's mine. And I personally believe that you recognize that symbol because you've had this sword in your hand before. You recognize it as something, even if you don't know what it is. Like, for example, this tattoo, which I got to represent angels when I deeded my life over to the mission, turns out to be the cross of Atlantis. And then the logo for Jedi Generation, which was the social scene designed to unify America like Jedi, that symbol turned out to be the cross of Atlantis. And don't show it here, because if you remember the Facebook extremist warning message, turns out my social scene logo is the extremist tattoo that they were talking about, which is interesting because I had just been filming episodes of that a couple days before they put out that episode. Yeah, it's everything from the past is starting to come into the future, and the future is proving the past, but the past is proving the future at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about
basically Cliff Notes, Maryam? I think you recognize that symbol because you're a Jedi
and Egyptian. Yes.
Are you actually Egyptian?
Oh yeah, I'm Egyptian Greek.
I did not know that. That's so cool. Yeah, it's literally in your DNA.
And I was there hosting a documentary on the Ark of the Covenant, and I got the job. I looked at the Craigslist ad, and I literally said, "Oh, they're looking for me."
Yep.
And out of thousands and thousands of people, that's how I went back to my motherland, which I'd never visited, and had the Great Pyramid to ourselves. I was there with, a fixer, the director, and the guard. We were 4 people, and we had this whole unfortunately, I picked up a entity and had to have an exorcism, and also felt a lot of negative vibes, for surezies, in the tomb, in the Great Pyramid. And the whole documentary was a little schlonky. I got there and I'm like, where is everybody? You hired a cameraman that does war, and the director, which, anyway, so whatever. Anyways, it was beautiful and interesting. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, can we go to the questions? Can we jump?
Sure. Hold on a second here.
Yeah.
Libby says
quick,
Maryam is divine. So I absolutely agree with Libby. Thank you so much for that comment. Okay, yes, Maryam, let me bring you back to your questions here on the slide deck for you. Hold on. There you go.
Just real quick to tag off of what Maryam was saying. I went on a camping trip a couple of years ago and realized that I was in America, pretty close to here, looking at a full-scale set of Egyptian pyramids, 3 of them in exactly the right location, right angles, a bent pyramid next to them, but also the remains of a sphinx. And that's about an 8-hour drive from where I am now.
Where is that?
What?
I can't tell you until the family who owns it signs off on it. But as soon as I get their permission to open up, then I'll do a field trip. And it's just bonkers because it's a location you know well.
Put my name on the list. I'm going to go visit that with you.
Is it near? Is it near the Integratron?
No, but I'm real.
You said
close
8 hours
to there.
north, so 8 hours north.
I don't know.
No,
I forget where you are.
You won't get it out of me until so my contact there at that site, I reached out to in December to talk about, because my whole thing is I just want to blow the lid off consensus reality, and this would do it. He's now dead, so I'm going to be really about this one until it's safe for everyone involved. But I know they're real because I went to Google Earth because I wanted to look down and see if they line up with the Orion's belt configuration, and they're blocked out. So that's how I know they're real.
Wow. Yeah. It's interesting.
I got to tell you, Ryan, and we'll connect after the show, but I have a group of remote reviewers, maybe 3 years ago now, that I spoke to, who actually tuned in to these same pyramids I had been tuning to in a spontaneous remote viewing, and there was a specific chair in one of those pyramids. So if you guys are watching my show since the beginning, I'm talking to the audience, you probably know the episode I'm talking about. It could very well be the location that Ryan's talking about. So we'll compare notes at some point, but absolutely fascinating. Okay.
Yeah, my only concern is for the safety of the family that owns the land, because they're kind of oppressed anyway. But if it's the same place, you're going to giggle. If it's the place, you'll know the place when I tell you, and you'll get a huge laugh at where it is. It's amusing.
Incredible. Okay, Maryam, back to your questions.
Yeah, maybe we can talk about living in the Matrix. I mean, it's nice to shit on the Matrix, and but we live in it, and there are benefits to it. So how, the saying, I'm in this world but not of it. So how can we live here in the Matrix and enjoy some of the perks, but then still see, and I said that I feel fear. Because I'm an empath and I'm in San Francisco, I literally feel the suicide vibe. I say this like ET, like just the depressing vibe, the zombie vibe. And so I'm constantly, I wake up in the morning that this is not me, this is not me, this is temporary, I'm going to leave. So maybe people at home are in a temporary situation. How can we be in this world and interact, but not get snafu'd?
Well, yeah, I'm an empath too, and boy, is that a shitty superpower most of the time. Yeah, I live out here in the middle of nowhere alone because I didn't want to be in the city for the crash, so I left early because it's so hard to not, like, even out here, I'm way out in the middle of nowhere. I could feel what is coming off of LA, and it actually affected my thoughts and made me angrier and edgier than I should have been. So the key is to realize we're definitely in a matrix, but there's a lot more of us than Agent Sith. And if we all get together, you know, and become the Neo Morpheus Trinity, then everything is just going to be fine. And when we take this planet back, we literally have one of the best playgrounds in the entire universe. This planet is such a contested hotspot because it's so amazing. We're a seed planet for other planets in a lot of different departments. We have the best water slides, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, honestly, the best way to, as far as telling you tools about how to be an empath and not take on energy, I suck at that. But what works for me is gamifying my reality that, okay, we're on a planet, lots is going wrong. I'm going to gamify my reality, and I'm going to try to be a version of Neo. I'm going to try to be a version of Luke Skywalker. I'm going to try to be Deadpool or Hermione Granger or whoever. And I'm going to go through this life as a main character, as a player, and not just an NPC putting my head down, pretending like there's not a problem. The main thing here, though, the easiest way through this is the realization that death is an illusion. That is one of the biggest pieces of propaganda ever foisted on us. I've died a couple times. It's so nice over there. Like the first time they actually had to push me back in because I was like, do I have to go back? And they're like, yeah, you got work to do, boo boo. Yeet. And then I'm back in. So just don't ever fear death. You know, think about everybody who's lived before us. Every single person has died. It's inevitable. Stressing about the inevitable is silly, but also the key to this life, one of the keys to this life is to live a meaningful life. And for the work that you do, Maryam, the bravery, especially, I think you're like 5'2" and about 99 pounds. It's a different game for you than
5'5". Don't take away
5'11".
3 inches from me. So I'm
Yeah,
5'5".
so,
Yes.
just the main thing is don't fear death. Do not fear death. We're horribly trained here in the West about that. And this is hell. Like, let's be honest, life right now is hell. It's not fun. It's scary. It's dangerous. And we get abused constantly in various and sundry ways. So for me, I'm going to live a life that has actually put me on the murder list for like 10 years. I'm going to keep doing everything I can do. And either I'm going to do what I can do, or they're going to take me out and I can leave honorably knowing that I left everything on the field. And if you take the samurai Bushido way of meditating on your death every day and just getting comfortable with that, you know, it's a thing that happens to everyone and it's not a big deal. That's what allows you to go forward with a clear mind and a strong heart and be like, okay, cool. I'm here at the end of the world. I'm going to do everything I can do to help the love team win.
I want to comment on that I tell people I'm personally am not afraid of death. I've looked at death. I've almost died a couple of times. I'm afraid of pain or not living my potential. So, and I tell people, spoiler alert, we all die, so you better live. Hello. And that's why the Rona has been so impactful, because people don't look at death. And I'm more afraid of not living my potential, having almost died, and just navigating the fear vibe because I don't have people around me, and because I feel this is just temporary, that I ended up in this zombie shit city. So I'm sorry, it sounds so negative and complaining, but for me, it's
You're
more
not
like
wrong.
personally, will I, you know, have a surgery next week? Will I wake up jabbed? They're telling me, you want the surgery? We have to put a nasal, we have to test you. Oh, so you want to test me with the test that's not a test, that you can't even tell me the cycle threshold. But okay, so it's more like getting stuck or not being impeded on what I'm supposed to do, as opposed to when I was in the jungle, when I can navigate all this negativity and digest it better because I'm surrounded by God, nature, and now so that's, it's quite different. I'm in a cement jungle versus a real jungle. But just to tell people at home, if they're in a situation that it's temporary and they know they don't have that infrastructure from the past, so just to look within and to not believe this matrix too much, because it's Maya, it's illusion, it's not real. You don't take it with you when you go.
Yep. The big key to hacking the matrix is quantum physics and recognizing that everything is made out of light and sound. That's what allows the fireproof hand thing to work, is that when the love energy comes in, it takes the light energy in my body and raises the molecular spin rate to the point where it frequency matches the fire, allowing us to coexist. Yeah. Honestly, the key is just to realize you live in the most interesting times possible, and to join the solution and to join the people who are working to get America back on track. And, you know, that's kind of the thing that bothers me, is when people are like, I just want to go back to normal. We've never had normal. We've been getting shot up at shopping malls for like 20 years. That is not the normal I want to reset to.
Absolutely.
Oh, speaking of set, the Jedi were part of the Osiris tradition. This sword represents his backbone. It represents his spine. It's a sign of stability. And Osiris was tricked and killed by Seth. So we've had Jedi versus Seth for about 7,000 years now. Seth is where we get the word Set, which is where we get the word Satan.
Wow. Absolutely fascinating. Wait, is my mic back on? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, hold on a second here. I wanted to share the screen here too. So folks, Cliff High's in the house. Speaking of people who died a few times, Cliff is one of them. He knows what he's talking about. Anyways, he's died also on YouTube recently. People are asking, where can I find Cliff? Of course, you can find him on his new BitChute channel. So I'm going to bring that up for you guys. And I want you, and this correlates to my last question here for Ryan, but I want the audience to go check out this episode here called Tippy Woo. And what he's alluding there is that we're at a huge tipping point in our reality. And so, Ryan, you started the show here just before we went live tonight, saying that perhaps there's this huge data dump coming, maybe as close as here tonight. And of course, Cliff High, with his predictive linguistics, has been forecasting something from the 23rd up until the 28th, huge emotional spike values. He's going to be on the show on Saturday. We're going to produce a pay-per-view episode for the audience there. But speak to what you understand here about what's going on and what perhaps is just at our doorstep here, Ryan. Again, with using the best possible language possible so that we can keep this file here on YouTube. Go ahead.
So this whole show has been running on number synchronicities. Like, remember how I said the number 327 is in everything? The Federal Reserve was actually absorbed into the US Treasury for the first time on 327. So tomorrow is 723, and that's the day the ancient Egyptians used to open up portals to Sirius. But tonight at midnight, there is a certain computer security expert who has his dead man switch unlocking at midnight. And that's 31 terabytes of information. Yeah, that would be him. So yeah, he had backdoors into everybody important's computer and grabbed 31 terabytes of information. And just to tag off of this, he signed his one of his suicide letters with the number 27, which I found quite amusing because the whole digital red pill is about the number 27 being an angelic Jedi number. So anyway, that is all going to come out. You know, obviously it won't be covered by the media, but the citizen journalists are going to have a field day if that does pop open tonight. But then also, there's a lot happening in a state that is just east of California. And the numbers there don't lie, and those are going to start coming out, and the whole script is going to flip, and we will probably have significant leadership changes by the end of August. So everything is going to heat up right now. We are going to have possibly some very strange, violent conflicts because of this. So everybody should definitely stock up on all the crucials like spring water and food and have some power back up. If the lights go out, that's great. If the internet drops, that's great, because there's talk about they're going to switch us on to a new quantum internet, and everything will be brand new, and some things that we're used to will be gone. So it's really all quite exciting. And what I can share for people is that, having studied this situation from the inside for so long, I haven't felt this good in 20 years. The scary people were a 6-headed dragon, and 5 of the heads are gone, maybe the last one now, but there's still the thrashing tail to deal with. So we're not out of it yet, but it's so close. And then we're going to live the most extraordinary, interesting, seemingly magical lives. But in order for this all to happen, America has to unify and coalesce, because once that happens, then the military can do things. But if we unify, we can actually invite in really, really beneficial ETs, and everything just gets easy at that point. Disease goes away. We get hover cars and jetpacks. So that's kind of the big push for me right now, is helping people understand that there are really good ones out there.
Hover cars and jetpacks. My friend Clefai is looking for his floating RV. Of course, he's referring to a used TR-3B, so he can go fishing on other planets. So that'll be absolutely interesting. Okay, there's a few people asking in the chat about this link for MARYAM's documentary. So let me bring that down right now so you guys can have access to that. I'm also
and laugh. It's a comedy.
Yes. No, it's not.
No, it's not. It's not. But
okay, so the link is in the live chat now, folks, and I'm also going to put that in the description box of this video. So let me do that now, too, so I don't forget. Okay, save. So if you guys are watching this on replay, you can find Ryan's links. They're all in the description box below, and also this documentary here from MARYAM. So, Ryan, before we end the show, I had a last one for MARYAM. Do you want, okay, go ahead first, MARYAM.
When we have these predictions, I find that people make mistakes because they are filtering time through this construct, and so they can make a mistake. We don't know, like when we say this is going to happen quickly, well, that could be a month, it could be a year in human time. So when you're making these predictions that something's imminent, is it in human time? Is it, how do you know?
It is all very dry Western psychology that comes from, literally all I've done for the last 12 years is study the problems and collect really great information providers who I know get accurate information early. But it's mostly just extrapolating based on the events that are happening in the world right now and seeing what's coming out. And then also, you know, like I'm going to be making some really big pushes here to start getting people aware of the fact that this world is not as it seems. If there's several different versions of me being fireproof, that's not supposed to be possible. I'm going to get in a ton more trouble for putting out that clip. The one that you showed was actually filmed by a Rockefeller, by the way. It's one of the reasons why I'm alive, is that they're a little bit afraid of me right now. So what we're going to do is just completely start blasting the lid off of the lies and help pull people out of denial. But the key here, like if you take the people who are currently the most mind locked, if we reach out to them with open arms, friendly, saying, hey, you know, I see you're waking up, you see what's going on, come on over, we have a hug and some cookies for you because we need your help. You know, we really do. Like the number one thing, if we want to solve all of our problems, we as the American people need to unify. We need to put aside all the labels and baggage of the past and go, we're all in this together. And what happens in America actually decides the fate of the world. We in America, we literally hold the keys to, oh, are we doing another 6,000 years of war and famine? Or are we going to unlock and ascend into a galactic class civilization? So, you know, just something to consider if you live in America. You're needed. We decide the fate of the world.
Yeah,
The sugar-free
there's
cookie.
cookies in it for you as well. So you heard Ryan there. I love that. Cliff is making fun of us here. Okay, Ryan, my last question for you is here. There's a few people in the chat already, and I'm one of them. I just purchased one of your swords on your website. And so let the audience know here how they can do that, and also how they get into that specific training. In one of the videos that I saw, you were explaining all of these different moves in a sequence here. So guide me through this website here for the audience. Let us know where they can start.
Okay, so the good news is that Kung Flow is as free as it needs to be because it heals PTSD and it is so good for addiction. And I know so many people are so poor. I am actually one of those people. The bad people have actually wiped out my finances and scared away all the people who would be running the business. So if you order the sword, know that it's just me. I'm on top of it. It will get there and it will be awesome. But the whole training program, if you scroll down there, the YouTube links, it's up there. If YouTube should decide to take me down, even though I have 0 strikes, it's posted up on Odyssey. Odyssey is a great thing because it runs on blockchain and can't be hacked. And it's up on there too, and it's totally for free. And so what I would recommend doing is setting up an afternoon, preferably going out into nature where you can be around trees, smoke them if you got them, do whatever you do in that department, and downloading these directly onto your computer and going through the whole training program, which is about 20 minutes of talking. And then I walk you through every single move step by step of the basic stuff. But then what I want for you to do is go find a move you can't do. And so that you have the experience of, okay, I'm jammed up on this one, I can't do it. Because I really want you to have that pop moment where you go, okay, this is easy, this is easy, this is easy, this is easy. Yeah, Neo! Because then you get really excited that speaking out to yourself does work. So you'll use it more. But what happens is that you get really good at unlocking really incredible skills super fast. So you get the dopamine burst of confidence and success, and it actually gets you addicted to working out. So you go out and play for 3 hours, unlocking better than Star Wars Jedi skills. And at the same time, you're getting in a full workout. And that's the key to physical fitness, folks, is make it fun. Yeah. If you enjoy doing it, you'll do it. And, you know, our workouts have been deprived from us, especially those of us that are stuck on lockdown. So you need to be moving in order for your body to be healthy, in order for your mind to be healthy. But also, one of the things I love is that when you hold the sword, it calls up all that ancient warrior DNA that we all have to some degree or another. But for those of you who are actually incarnated angels or Jedi, when you hold the sword, it's like, this just feels right. I've done this before. And so you're not actually learning the skills, you're remembering them. And Jean-Claude, the AN in your name is an abbreviation for angel. And did I see that you like the number 3?
Yeah.
Okay. So the numbers 3, 11, 7, town, and 327, 27, 108. Those are all numbers that are embedded all across reality to trigger that dormant part of our starseed mind. but the initials AN, Anu, Anunnaki, Sky God, those are in so many people who already identify as Jedi, along with the names Michael, David, Katie, Kai, and especially Anna. Those names will show up so much in people who are starseeds and indigos and all that. It is such an anomalous pattern.
And when you
So
add to
if you
that
have-
the beginning of the
if you have
conversation
those names,
about the
you
blood
wanna check
types,
out the
it's
red pill.
absolutely more fabulous. Oh, sorry. Again, guys, we have a delay in our chat here. I don't mean to speak over Ryan here. What I was saying, Ryan, is when you add to what you just said, those people who are also in the RH negative bloodline, it brings a whole new perspective to what you just said here in terms of these groups of people on mission.
Well, this is a new thought, but I'm now at this point, I'm about 95% sure that there was an angelic infiltration of the more reptilian brained people in order to be able to heal them. Like, my end game is not defeat the dark side, it's heal the demons, including the actual demons, because they deserve it too. And if we don't get caught up in the petty cycles of vengeance and we rise above it and heal the priests and heal the global leaders, then we end the cycles and we don't have to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting that you say that, because I've been saying that vengeance is the new justice, based on a recent trial that I covered on George Floyd. Not to bring it back to George Floyd, but yeah, that we shouldn't be filled with vengeance. We should just worry on ourselves. I wonder if you showed up at the airport with the saber and said, I identify as a Jedi, what they would do. Can you take that with you on a plane? Yeah, right.
I don't let myself go into TSA situations because I might not come out, so I
You
don't
might
know.
never come back.
But if you tell them it's a walking stick, it's a walking stick. And what's really interesting is that because of Star Wars and some other things, everybody absolutely loves this sword. A friend of mine got one. He calls it his friend-making machine, because if you light it up in public, everybody's just like, what is that? And then if you have any sort of ability to spin it, you're already better than most of the people in Star Wars. So people are excited about that. It's a really cool conversation starter. And honestly, it's made out of bulletproof glass. And so if you're concerned about your security, it's a really effective weapon. Maryam, if you have one of these, you can sit back and just take somebody's fingers out from a distance, and your size is not as much of a disadvantage in the field. So I hate to have to bring that up, but we do live in this world.
Does it retract? It doesn't retract, right? It'd be so cool. Be like, just comes.
There's one called the Daymaker that does.
Oh, really?
So the Waylighter is something that I had to build because I kept getting deep state mafia Rockefellers screwing with my business. By the way, if anybody's brave enough to take me on, this is a $3 billion a year industry. I've got the competitive analysis and a pitch deck built. But the thing is that the people who I work with usually get gang stalked and harassed and threatened, which is why I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. So if anybody's brave enough to take me on, you'll be running a $3 billion a year industry. You just have to put up with my interesting caveats.
Hey, let me just ask you, Ryan, you just said something here. There's two versions of this sword on the website right now. There's the Waylighter Assembly Shamanic. What's the other one you're talking about? I don't see it here.
Shamanic.
All right, so say something interesting for like 40 seconds.
Okay. Well, folks, that was the Quantum Woo here with Maryam Henein and Ryan Riff Parks. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe here on our backup channel here at Jean-Claude at BeyondMystic 3. And also, don't forget to go and subscribe to Maryam's backup channel here at Maryam Henein.
They no longer even tell me when I have new subscribers on there. They don't. And I just want to tell people that the latest in my endless attacks is that now Amazon is holding $5,000 of my money, and it's under review. This is with my business, Honey Colony and Simply Transformative. And when I say, it's like I've told JC, I've had to speak to a bankruptcy attorney because my $1 million company that I built from scratch is decimated because we rely on Facebook and Google and the techno-fascists to tell people that we exist. So my company was garnering 500,000 unique visitors, all from our SEO work and our articles. And now I have 15.9 because of these techno. So please, like when I say I need help, I give and I put out and I'm working. I'm not driven by money, but I need to live, need to survive, and I would be okay. So please come to Honey Colony. I'm being attacked for selling vitamins.
God forbid we talk about the immune system. Folks, if you want to tip MARYAM, hold on a second, Ryan. Hold on a second, Ryan. Folks, if you want to tip MARYAM, of course, she doesn't have her own PayPal account anymore for the same reasons. You can still use mine here. Just write that it's for MARYAM, and I'll send that over to her.
Thank you.
Post today. So thank you, everyone, for being generous there, too, and supporting these shows and supporting MARYAM. So, Ryan, back to the second iteration. I believe you have one in your hands right now.
Yeah, it's actually the only one. So I got a nonstop litany of the worst business partners in history. Wassermans, Castros, Kaisers, McCarthy's, like just all kinds of people have wrecked this business. And so I realized I had to make the sword myself. And so I sat down and just started building different versions of it with parts that I could find around the neighborhood. This particular model is literally just bicycle grips. That's an end cap from Home Depot. And then there's a flashlight from Harbor Freight inside of it. And it's called a quantum, coincidentally. If you look at a quantum computer, it looks exactly like a Jed pillar. So this one's ready to go because it's made out of other people's parts. And I just order and assemble. But this one, I had a very strange experience with, because one day I woke up with this strange calling that I needed to go to this thrift store in Venice, which is all the way across town. When I got there, there was a karaoke mic stand, and I realized that's it. It's this, because right now this blade lives in here, but when you shoot it up, a magnetic switch turns it on, and then you just tighten this nut down here, and now you have a sword. So this one allows us to make a staff, which is cooler. It just requires machining and production that I don't have. But it's quite amusing because this conical nut here is what makes it work. It what locks the blade into place. And if you look at the ancient Egyptian Jed pillar, it has that same conical shape in exactly the same place. And those sort of little coincidences are literally a daily occurrence now. Even living alone in the middle of nowhere, it's nonstop. Some random crazy lady showed up at my gate last night, and I looked at her and I went, "Your middle name is Anne." And she goes, "Yeah, how'd you know that?" And it's because of the pattern. And angels and Jedi just throw off a frequency, MARYAM, which is probably why we connected, however long ago it was. Because seriously, I can walk through like a grocery store and look at people and go, "Your name's Anne, isn't it?" And they're like, "Yeah, how did you know that?" And it's because that name is so prevalent in people who give off an angelic energy signature.
Wow, fascinating. Folks, thank you so much for the tips here. Hold on.
It's the crazy.
MARYAM Lagos is for MARYAM. Thank you so much. And Laura K is also for MARYAM. Thank you so much for the donations.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Any last words of wisdoms, Ryan, for you in terms of maybe what we're about to face here in the next couple of days, weeks, as we move into this new reality, as we discussed at the beginning of the show? What can you tell the audience here on how to maybe stay grounded, stay focused, and stray away from some of those negative thoughts that might prevent them from flowing with the change?
Perfect question. So number one with a bullet, and I'm glad that I remembered this, learn how to read spaceweather.com, because we are also now officially moving into the solar flare cycle of the solar storms. And if you are not up to speed on how solar flares have been wrecking our reality and making you sick your whole life, get on that. Like, seriously, folks, this is one of the simplest science to understand, but it is boggling when you see the graph of how solar maximum and all the world wars perfectly coincide for 200 years. Basically, everybody was tired last week and grouchy and cranky and feeling off because we had our first X-class solar flare, and that is a massive blast of X and gamma rays slamming into the planet. And if my fingernail is the Earth, this is how big the wave of X-rays that just hit us last week was. But the reason why this is a huge deal is that an X2 flare is enormous and makes people crazy. We had an X29 last week that thankfully was pointed at the far side of the sun and didn't hit us. If it had actually hit us, it would have broken everything electric. It would have been an EMP. In 1859, there was something called the Carrington event. A solar flare hit us, and it was so powerful, it set the telegraph wires on fire. And these are the days when everything goes wrong, everybody's drunk, everybody's really edgy and prone to fighting for no reason. And I've been watching this happen for 10 years. And so number one is just learn how to read spaceweather.com. One of the links, the Smoking Sun site, will show you exactly how to do that, because there are other forms of solar weather called coronal mass ejections and solar wind, and you'll actually get a 2 or 3 day heads up when the bad days are coming. Yeah, so if you look in the upper left-hand corner there where it says wind speed and proton density, those are major factors. If the wind speed's up around 450 or higher, it's going to be a rough day. If the proton density is above 8, it's going to be rough. But if you look, keep scrolling up there, please. If you look, you notice we're having C-class flares. C is where flares start getting bad, and we haven't had them for 3 years. So I'm again going to point out that the opening of the show started with my crazy story about a strange voice telling me to pay attention to the number 27. The sun's rotational period, measured at the sunspot latitude, is 27.27 days. 27 was also Nikola Tesla's favorite number. And Revelations is the 27th book of the Bible, written by St. John of Patmos, whose feast day was 12/27. Lewis and Carroll, author of Through the Looking Glass, his birthday is 1/27, and the book was published on 12/27. If you're a Nikola Tesla fan, you will love this. If you're a Bruce Lee fan, you will love this. He was born on 11/27, and you'll find out that all of your favorite heroes have connections to this number.
Wow, absolutely fascinating. Well, thank you for that. Absolutely. And Maryam, for you, last words before we leave our audience tonight?
I just want to say thank you. Thank you to the audience for being receptive. Thanks to you, Jean-Claude, for trusting me with guest choices. And thank you, Ryan, for sharing your wisdom and your journey. And I hope that the audience goes to your BitChute and finds you. I'm going to find you on Gab, so hopefully follow me back. And just please pray for me. I'm going to have surgery if I undergo this nostril rape test on Friday of next week. And I'm going for an MRI on Tuesday, this Tuesday, to see a little bit better what is going on and why I've been bleeding nonstop for months. So yeah, thank you everyone. Just super
Thank you.
grateful and feel a lot of love and thank you, Ryan. And
Thank you,
Jean-
Maryam. Thank you, Ryan. And folks, thank you for joining me in sending Maryam some healing, much deserved healing energies here as she faces some of the corrective surgery that she needs to go through here. So a scary time for her. And I really appreciate you guys joining me and sending her lots of love and lots of energy. And of course, you can also help her by subscribing to our YouTube channel here at MARYAM HENEIN, and you can follow her and support her work at honeycolony.com. And finally, you can find our friend here, Ryan, at kungflow.com, and also on his Gab at Ryan Riff Parks. Now, you're lifting your hand, Ryan. One last word before we go.
Yeah, something super important for Maryam in this moment and everybody else. So when you say, I am healing, your subconscious mind kicks on and starts directing resources to the healing process. When I was really going through the worst of attacks, I got very weak, did actually die a couple times, chipped out some cartilage out of my knee, and I had to have a surgery. And my surgeon told me that I had a major hole in my knee, massive defect. I would never, ever walk upstairs again, much less be a performer. And I was just like, nah. And so I did a bunch of energy on my work on my knee saying, I am healing, I am healing, I am healing. As the first time I've ever told this story properly. When I came out of the surgery, the surgeon went, yeah, you're not ever going to really be able to walk upstairs again. And who did the other surgery on your knee? And I was like, I've never had a surgery. And he goes, well, there's tool marks on the inside of your knee. But the thing that's really important for you to see here is that I had a massive injury that was supposedly going to take away my ability to walk normally. For several months after the surgery, I just held my knee and said, I am healing my knee. I am healing my knee. And I'm 49 years old. And if I had more room, I'd throw you a flip in here. The body can heal anything when you direct it properly and eat properly and rest properly. So whatever your surgery is, we'll figure out the proper codes and help you amplify your natural healing factors. And consider that my healing factors are currently at a point where I'm holding my hand in fire for 13 seconds without burning. You can certainly accelerate the healing process on your surgery, and you probably might not even scar, depending on what kind of surgery it is.
Wow. Yeah, I'm more scared of the matrix of fear. I trust this doctor, and obviously I'm removing a fibroid and a cyst that are both in the same area on the left side, which is the female side, the receptive side. So it's more just having to deal with all that BS negativity that I don't really want to deal with again with this test, that it's not really a test because there's no other viruses around anymore. So yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you. I will say I'm healing and tap into that. I've had surgeries before, and I'm a warrior. It's just a different time now.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating show. We could go on. And what I want to suggest to the audience here, we said it earlier in the show, so if you just join us halfway through, there's so much more that we can discover, Maryam, Ryan, and I here. And we're going to do a pay-per-view episode so that we can speak freely, because I think the three of us have this amazing synergy of ideas to bring together. And so I'm going to reach out to both Ryan and Maryam here to suggest some dates to record the next episode for you guys. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you for liking and sharing and for subscribing to our backup channel here. Third backup. I have to make that right. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. This was episode number 5, I think, of Quantum Woo with Maryam Henein, Ryan Riff Parks, and of course, I'm Jean-Claude at BeyondMystic. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening, and au revoir.